What's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday, the 29th of October, 2024. It's 3:30 p.m. here in Germany. This is the Insanity Report for today. Now we're actually one exact week out from Election Day. The world is still here. I know a lot of us thought that there was going to be some massive black swan event in order to somehow thwart the election. But I think they've run out of buckshot, the Democrats and the left. They've tried everything that's within their power to try, and it's all failed. It's looking like the Donald is going to be the next president once again. Thank God for that. But it's still going to take everybody to get their asses out there and vote. That's the only way to beat the cheating they've got left in them, is for this to be such a massive turnout that Donald Trump wins this election. Clear cut, no hands down, no argument, no discussion. Biggest landslide in American history. That's how it should probably turn out if everybody does their part. And then when that's over, when he's in, then it's time for people to start paying attention to their state representatives and watching what they're doing and getting rid of them if they're not on course with your values in your state. And that's why I'm doing a show every week about what is your representative voting for. And I'm going to highlight a congressman or woman every week and show you guys what bill they voted on and prompt you to go and look at what else they've been voting on, because it's pretty easy, it's pretty direct, and I'll put the links in the descriptions below. So check those out. What's your representative voting for? Those are going to be out every week from now here on out. But this is the Insanity Report, and we're going to go through it today. I kind of didn't want to talk about this because I talked about it last week, but Facebook is still up to their antics in election interference, right? They're still censoring Americans. This time, they have censored General Flynn, General Michael Flynn, a decorated general, someone who should be highly respected, but he's excised from the deep state because they don't like his politics or the way he talks, and they don't like the fact that he likes Trump, so they're still against him. So a prominent general has been removed from Facebook, got his account banned. He doesn't know why. They didn't tell him why. And I can't imagine that whatever it is could be an actual legal violation. So they probably somehow can couch it into their terms of service or whatever, that, he said this or did that. That's against their terms of service. But what my point is in this goes completely against what everybody thought Mark Zuckerberg meant with his letter to Jim Jordan a couple of months ago, explaining that, he's very sorry about putting his thumb on the scale on the election in 2020. They're not going to be donating to candidates anymore, at least not in those amounts of money. They're sorry. And, Mark Zuckerberg thought Donald Trump was the coolest person he's ever seen for jumping up and yelling, fight, 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 after he got shot in the fucking head. And, basically that was all just bullshit, because they're still up to the same things. And we know this because last week, anyway, James O'Keefe, the founder and owner and CEO of OMG Media, he caught another high-profile person, an engineer at Facebook, who was trying to get a piece of ass and just spilled the beans on his company to this chick that he thought was going to get, that he was going to get laid by. And turns out it was James O'Keefe getting him in the honeypot once again. It's hilarious to watch. You should go back and watch that video, because you'll be able to see this dude getting snared in, by this girl. It's amazing. And so he basically explained that all the posts that are negative about Kamala Harris are demoted or shadow banned. And so they're doing their best to try to keep Trump out of the White House. And that's their mantra, that's their goal. And anybody who thought that Mark Zuckerberg was actually turning over a new leaf and actually has seen the light is obvious, has been fooled, And when he first came out with this, I was skeptical of it. I said, maybe he has, but he's got an ulterior motive. And I thought his ulterior motive was that he was worried Trump would get elected, and then the hammer would come down on Facebook and social media sites like it. And he was trying to avoid that, so he wanted to publicly express his sorrow for his actions in 2020, except that was all smoke and mirrors BS, and they think they can get away with it without being caught. But not only are their own engineers spilling the beans to chicks they think they're going to get fucked by, and they're getting fooled. I don't know what happened to the guy, but he's probably not working there anymore. But by banning prominent figures like General Michael Flynn, they're making it obvious that they have not turned over a new leaf. They have not changed tactics. They have not changed course. Maybe they haven't donated that much money or any money to the Democratic campaign. Who knows? You know, I don't really care. The fact is, Mark Zuckerberg is a lying charlatan, right? This dude wants to be able to cover his ass, but still push his own political agenda. And he's using his platform to do it. And that is unacceptable. You know what I mean? It's unacceptable. You know, there's the General Michael Flynn writes for a paper called the Western Journal, and the Western Journal's account was also banned on, I think it was the same day that Flynn's was banned on, but they got their account restored. No explanation, no, nothing, you know what I mean? They just arbitrarily do this like they do in totalitarian governments. And there has to be a stop to this shit. You know what I mean? It should not be up to social media companies to regulate what's true and what's false and what people's opinions are and what they aren't. And there's people out there, I know there's people out there that say, look, they're a private company, they can do whatever they want. If you don't want somebody in your store, you don't have to serve them either, which is not exactly true. You know what I mean? It's not exactly true. You can't just deny service to people, especially if they're a minority, because then you're going to get blamed for being a racist, even if you denied them, not based on skin color or anything like that, but just because of their behavior. They could come out and say, well, they threw me out because I'm black, and then you're fucked. So it doesn't exactly work like that. And a company that's supposed to be the town square kind of place where people share their opinions and have discussions, you know, the telephone company can't ban you either. The telephone company can't just listen to your phone call and not agree with what you're talking about and say, okay, well, we're just going to cut your phone line. That's it. You don't get a phone number anymore. That's never been a thing. And I don't see why it has to be a thing for social media companies. And this hiding behind, well, they're a private company, can do whatever they want. That's not true. You know, all kinds of big companies get regulated all the time by the government, all the time. You know, pollution regulations, all kinds of regulations. You know, and so it's just completely antithetical to reality to say, well, a social media company can do whatever it wants because it's a private company. No, they also can be regulated. It's just they're not being regulated. And so it's time for the government to step up. Hopefully when Trump gets in, there'll be some changes in this censorship industrial complex landscape that's going on right now. But anyway, the point is, don't believe fucking Mark Zuckerberg, because he's a lying piece of shit. Right? He's a liar. Now there's been 2 stories at least, you know, that I've seen and passed on to you guys that basically prove that he was lying. Okay? They're censoring negative content on Kamala Harris, and they're blocking prominent figures on the right. You know, General Flynn isn't the only one. For sure not. He's just one that can get attention put to it, which regular everyday people cannot. So something definitely needs to be done about this, and hopefully when Trump gets in and puts the right team in, then there will be things done. Now, another story is about the Washington Post, who lost a couple of employees. I don't know exactly how many people walked out and quit their jobs, but they quit because the Washington Post has refused to endorse Democrats. They didn't say they were endorsing Trump or anything. They just said, we're not endorsing any political candidates this year. It's the first time in a long ass time, if ever, that the Washington Post has taken this kind of stand. And the employees aren't happy. Oh, the liberal lefty activist employees are supposed to be journalists, but they're not. They're political activists. They're not happy, so they rage quitted their jobs. They're dumb, right? They're fucking dumb. They have the cushiest, easiest fucking job on the planet, and it pays a lot of money. And out of their whiny, crybaby bullshit, they quit, probably thinking that they were going to beg for them to stay, or that they were going to change their policies, because these kids and these Gen Zers and the young people that are working in these positions seem to have the idea that it's okay to let the insane run the asylum, to let the children run the schools, and to let the employees run the company, because that's the way it's been kind of going. And that also has to change. Maybe Mark Zuckerberg got some internal pressure. Maybe that's why. Maybe his intention was to stay off the election, putting the thumb on the scale game, right? Maybe that was his intention, but maybe it's like the employees, once he came out with that apology and that letter, employees fucking started raging, and he wanted to keep his employees happy. I don't know, but I can imagine it's something like that. You know what I mean? It could be. It could definitely be something like that. And, it's a problem. Like I said, you don't let the children run the household. If I have kids, I run the household and they do what they're told. You know what I mean? And then when they're out of the household, then they can make their own decisions about what they do. But as long as, and that's what I was told my whole life, as long as I'm putting food in your mouth and a roof over your head, it's my rules. You don't run shit, right? And that's the same thing that it always has used to been until 5 minutes ago for every company. You know what I mean? Every company. They've never let the insane people run the asylum. They've never let the woke employees run the company and make decisions for the CEO. It's never been a thing until about 5 minutes ago, and it's time that the tide turns on that. And respect to the Washington Post leadership for letting these people just walk out and not begging them to stay or changing their policy. They remained on track. They let these people quit, which they should have. And anybody who decided later, oh, well, I made a mistake, should just be fired. You know what I mean? Just to set an example. That's what the left likes to do, like to set examples of people. Well, they should be made an example of and shown, hey, listen, in a company where you're an employee, you are an employee. No, stay in your fucking lane, right? You're not the boss, I'm the boss, right? If it's my company, I make the decisions, and you can't threaten me with quitting or any other shit to make me change my mind. And if you try, I will find the first reason I can to get rid of your ass. And that should be the way it is. Same thing with schools. Same thing with universities. Yes, the kids' parents pay the tuitions for these universities, but that doesn't mean that they're the client, right? The parents are the client. And the parents paid for that university so that the kid would get a good education. That's what you should be providing. Not whatever the kid screams that they want. Not whatever woke agenda the kid is pushing. That's not what you should be supplying as a university. And so they need to reverse course on all this letting the lower level run the higher level. It doesn't work like that. It obviously doesn't work like that. And Netflix set a great example back in the day with the whole Dave Chappelle drama, that Netflix said, look, if you don't like it, quit. You know what I mean? And that's the message we need to send to these wokesters. Really, that's the message we need to send. It's time to start putting sanity back into reality. Because what's happening and what's happened since now is crazy.